There it is. Morning, everybody. This is Sales Chatter, the logistics podcast with the mission of getting 10,000 reps to hit 1 million GP. I'm your co-host, Ryan Mohamed. With me is my amazing co-host, President and CEO of RGTX Logistics Solutions, great best handlebars in the business, the best butcher in the business here, Jeff Dickinson. How you doing this morning, brother?
Hey, brother. How you doing? How was your New Year's?
Oh man, it was awesome, man. It was pretty quiet. You know, we're not standing in lines anymore. No fireworks downtown and things like that. But how was yours, brother?
Peaceful. That's all I can say. Peaceful, relaxing, did not go out, was not going to be a novice this year. So, nope.
All right, and you know what? Having a New Year's that's very peaceful. But this morning's not going to be peaceful, Jeff. We're getting into training. Let's get into
Yes.
it.
All right, let's do it.
Welcome to the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
We like that little segue into it, and a lot of people, Jeff, they're always thinking about new year, new me. And I think Gunnar had a post this morning saying like how many of people have failed on the resolution. So I know for myself and a lot of people out there, we want to talk about getting back to the basics. We want to talk about, hey, maybe I want to start a new plan in terms of training and developing myself. So this morning, we got the director of training and agent development at Armstrong Transport Group, the Freight Sensei, the man himself, Scott Watanabe. Want to welcome this morning to Sales Chatter. Good morning, Scott.
Morning, Scott.
All right, little voice.
Every day. Good morning. How we doing? Mute. It's amateur hour here whenever I'm coming around. So how we doing?
Good, man.
So it's good to be here. So glad that you guys, I got the invite last week. It was my week off, my birthday week off. But I was like, man, it's kind of weird because I'm usually hopping in here Monday, Wednesdays, and Fridays is my HPLS mornings. I come in here, get my coffee, and I listen to you guys and get some engagement. And so Tuesday morning, I'm like, hey, it's going to be weird for me. But yeah, I'm glad to be on. Thanks for the invite, guys.
Yeah, glad to have you. How was your New Year's?
New Year's was good. It was really relaxing. Wasn't around just a couple family friends, and they have kids about our size, and we just hung out, watched the TV, played some games, and ate some good food. So
awesome. Hey, thank you so much for your support and watching our show every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. Sorry we threw you off by having you on today, but we really appreciate it. Scott, and I'm not preaching to the choir by any means. Training, learning sales, the do's and don'ts are so important, especially this year in 2023, because it's the recession, right? There's a lot of things that aren't going right. A lot of people aren't spending the money. Things aren't ticking. What are you and your team doing in this supposed recession? How are you getting prepared? How are you training your people? What's the next step for Armstrong and getting to that next level?
Yeah, so it's we've heard it. It's going to be one of those markets where you're going to separate the hustlers from the non-hustlers, and it's just staying on the phones. I go back to my days in the pizza restaurant. We had order takers, we had pizza makers. Yeah, order takers, all they had to do. What were they on the phone? They were just sitting on the phones in front of a computer, waiting for a phone call to come in and take the order. And it was the pizza makers that were going out there making things happen, and the delivery drivers making things happen. So it's the era of what are you going to do? Are you going to be an order taker? Or are you going to be a pizza maker? And if you're not out there hustling, getting those dials in, and not just, hitting a dial number, but make sure they're quality dials. Make sure you're understanding what your objectives are and understanding what these, understanding the market and where how you have to sell. If you're not out there doing those kind of quality calls, you're just going to be looked away, and the next round of trainees is just going to come in and overshadow you.
So what's more important, hunter or farmers?
You said hunters or farmers? Right now, I think it's your farmers, because your farmers are those ones cultivating relationships, cultivating the soils, reaping what you're sowing, because you got to figure out what you need to sow. You got to plant those correct seeds in order for I like that analogy, and you kind of threw it in there last. So, but yeah, I mean, it's the relationship builders. The ones that have been building the relationships, and we've been saying it on the sales floor. We've been teaching these guys and telling these guys, and you have to be out there developing these relationships, because it's going to be the market where these other sales reps are going to come in and they're going to undercut your quote and overperform the customer service aspect, and that's where they're going to go. They're going to be able to save money and get get better customer service. That's not what they're looking for. So if those relationships haven't been built on customer service, customer experience, they're just going to go by the wayside.
Now, here's a question for you, Scott. I've heard it for many decades because I've been in the business for a long time, and you hear the word a lot of times now: collaboration. How do you train your team to collaborate? What's the key aspects of getting to that level of cooperations, being congruent, I should say?
I think it's going back to finding the need and finding your value to take care of that need, where you're at in regard to collaborating. Because if you don't know anything about what their true need is, if you're just calling to say, hey, you got any loads for me, you're not. What kind of value are you adding to their current processes? And we like to use the word partnership now, right? That's what we're looking for is, hey, I'm not trying to come in and take over. Understand that you have a bunch of carriers and brokers that you're working with, right? I understand that that you've been doing things this way. I just want to know where I can be an added value, create a new partnership for you, and see what it is that is going to make us. I don't want to take every single one of your lanes. I just want to take the ones that we specialize in, the ones that we have a niche in, the ones that where I know I have carriers in, and our carrier sales reps have those carrier relationships in, that I can utilize those relationships in order to provide you with consistent service.
That's right. Awesome. So you have new folk. How many new people do you have on board? What's your level of novice to experts?
So currently, I oversee 3 locations. We got our Chicago office in Chicago. We have our North Carolina, which is where our corporate is based out of, and I'm based out of our Boise branch. And I'm at I got 8 in the training program right now, and it's anywhere from a 8 to 12 week program that they sit with me. I'm typically on the floor 65% of the time, just doing one-on-ones or in their ear, or whispering them and doing one-on-one coaching. And then I have 3 training specialists in each location as well that does the same thing. And I've been out, so I know we had some graduate. I know we had some not make the cut by the end of the year. But I'm pretty sure we're probably close to 25 or 30 trainees in the pipeline, anywhere from week 3 to week 12.
That's amazing. Nice. That's so amazing to hear, Scott. And first and foremost, when I was doing some research on Armstrong Transport Group, I came across Reddit, which I use, the Freight Brokers subreddit. And anytime there was a post about what freight agency to go into as a freight agent, Armstrong was always at the top of the list. Everybody recommend you guys. So I kind of want to unpeel it a little bit from, hey, when we're kind of going from like the beginner, right? Somebody gets hired and they're basically going through that process. For you being a senior sales rep yourself, what were some things that were lacking when you were getting trained that you make it a point to actually teach and nurture these new employees, agents, contractors, or whatever they be?
It's basic. There's a lot. I mean, because I guess 2014 is when I jumped on board in the logistics training. So in 2014, it was going on. There was a lot of hustle and bustle, but not so much in the Boise, Idaho area, or even the Idaho area in general. So there wasn't much training. It was probably, hey, sit next to this guy, listen to a couple phone calls. Hey, I want you to call this truck. Here's this login to truckstop.com and here's a list of trucks to call and see if first, let's just see if he's available. Right. And so when, then what? Okay. Hey, yeah, he's available. What now, boss? Okay. Ask him when and where his truck's going to be at. Ask him what kind of truck he has. I was like, I thought this was a list of flatbeds. I thought we already knew what kind of truck, and so it's processes. Like there was processes in the mind of the reps, but nothing was down on paper. Nothing was, you don't have those SOPs in the beginning. And so understanding or, trying to learn those processes on the job, not really through any kind of professional or organized structured training was hard. And that's something that I feel, as there's so many new brokerages that are coming in, and I feel that it's the training is not there because they don't have anybody. Now, what's awesome is we have people like Dan, we have people like Chris Jolly and Jeff and everybody who wants to get out there and create content to help new people and new reps out there. That's what I'm trying to do, along with my people, just trying to make what was Jason say from Lowboy, try to make freight again. Let's make America freight again. Let's make freight great again. Let's just make this the logistics industry into something that truly what it is. It's the backbone of this country, and it gets so downplayed sometimes. And when I'm kind of going off on a little rabbit hole, but it's when new reps come in and they don't understand the true aspects of what logistics is across the U.S. and they can't get that. They don't get that. What am I trying to say? They don't understand it to a level where it's just a sales job or it's just an operations job. And we can understand the big picture of everything we do in logistics is going to help you understand how you can train and how you can sell and how you can operate.
How do you give that logistics knowledge to the people that you are training? I mean, how do they get that knowledge? I'm just curious. I mean, do you think that it would be beneficial if part of your training structure would be to have somebody that in a local warehouse or DC, in Boise, in Chicago, wherever it might be, have them to go in and spend a day to see the operation and how things turn and burn and the pressures that are on the traffic managers, the supply chain managers, the logistics managers? I mean, do you think that would be advantageous for your sales team? So they would have
100%.
a better broad aspect.
Yes. So I was talking with our CMO and what is next on our agenda as far as bringing in the type of training content. And I was telling her about how even if it's a field trip, so to speak, or coordinate with one of our local guys and say, hey, this is, I can show you pictures of flatbeds, but let's go ahead and let's touch a flatbed. Oh, this is what a tandem looks like. Oh, you got to pull this lever in order to unlock the tandem. And that's how it works. Because we can pull up YouTube videos and all that, but there's a lot of hands-on stuff. My dad's a truck driver, and I keep warning him. I was like, Dad, I'm gonna come out here. I'm gonna do some video training content, riding with you for a day, and be like, hey, this is what a day in the life of a truck driver is. He's a final mile guy, so he's hourly. He loves it. He's in his 60s, and that's just what he does. He likes to be home every night, but he used to drive over the road in South Dakota for all that fracking stuff. So he's been doing it for a while. But yeah, I'm a firm believer in hands-on training. It's just now it's implementation. We're fairly new to the training and development side as far as Armstrong because of we just hired last year. We hired a instructional designer. So this year we launched Armstrong Academy, which is awesome. It's an LMS system, and it took months of me recording content. And it's funny because I go to like some of these conferences, and they're like, "Hey, I know you from the video." You know, I was like, "Yeah, I'm not just an actor. I
We're
was."
getting out of this.
That's awesome to
It's,
kind of hear, and like
uh,
it's awesome to hear because like a lot of people they need that training. So Scott, can you share with us when somebody kind of comes in and you kind of do that interview process? They're looking at a career rather than a job. What are some strategies that you guys use right at the beginning? Like you said, it could be recorded video, it could be training manuals. What is kind of like the bare foundation that you set up your sales agents with?
So we're currently, again, we have Armstrong Academy. We have 3 weeks of combined learning. We have e-learning, virtual led training, and instructor led training. And I do a lot of the virtual instructor led training where it's a collaborative where they're on a Chicago and North Carolina and Boise. They're all on a Zoom call and they're listening to me kind of pitch. But yeah, the basics of terminology, day one, operations, how to negotiate with carriers, how to vet carriers, and then we get them into the goal is to let them book a carrier and then do the dispatching and the check call process all through that work first week 1, week 2. That way they understand, and so when they're out there selling on week 2 and week 3, they understand the process. They understand what our carrier sales reps are doing, and they have that chance to be in the role. And they do a lot of the carrier shadowing with carrier sales reps, and then they do some shadowing with our account managers. And then one of my favorite parts is we actually do sparring. We do sales rebuttal sparring where I'll teach them some rebuttals. And we go in there and I act like a decision maker. One of my training specialists acts like as a gatekeeper, and then we switch it up. And then by the end of the week 2, they're going against each other because then they got a day and a half of sales calls. And right now we're all getting those as you see it. They're just getting smacked in the face. And so they get to go in a classroom environment and go against each other. Well, I play gatekeeper. And then I was like, okay, yeah, that decision maker is going to be boom. It's going to be Ed, and Ed's going to come at him with the sales training, scenario or a rebuttals that he ran into this week. So that way he can see how he's going to react. And then we can all talk about it after the call. And so a lot of those, and then a lot of one-on-ones where myself or one of my training specialists will get on and whisper with them as they're making live calls and kind of whisper in their ear and be like, "Hey, say this. Hey, say that." So it's fun, and they enjoy it, and it's truly the role playing is what builds.
Yes.
It gives them confidence. Because then it's when they're on the phone, they hear that smack in the face. They're like, they can switch it up. They can switch up the question. They can start asking those qualifying questions to hopefully get on the next level. I tell my guys, and I'm going to shout out to my boy, my training specialist, Clayton in North Carolina. He's 3. Do not hang up unless you at least get three objections. Get 3 no's before you even try. And I like that. I like that a lot because it gets these newer sales reps thinking about, okay, well, what's next? Okay, who is? And then the active listening part. You have to have active listening, or else you're not gonna be able to come at them with another question. So
Right. I got 2 questions for you.
Yeah.
What's more important to you, corporate value or individual value?
Define value. Like
That's what I'm trying. That's what I'm asking. How do you define value? I mean, is it more important for your sales team to have an individual value because they're making that phone call, so they have to tell the receiver or prospect what their value is? So is their value more important than the corporate value, or vice versa?
I'm a believer in you are selling yourself.
Mhm.
You have to sell yourself because it doesn't matter it does matter, what's your left and right, American, Centurion, Armstrong Transport Group. And that matters, but we're getting to a point where anybody can be any agent anywhere because of the remote structures that are out there, and so you have to be able to sell yourself and how much value that you as an individual can provide to this customer and this client, because it's ultimately you're the one you should be selling to pick that. Hey, I'm going to be the one picking up the phone 24/7. I'm going to be the one that if you have a problem, you can call me. Oh, 4 o'clock on a Friday, 5 o'clock on a Friday. Yeah, you're not going to call in and get a hold of an after hours. You're going to get a hold of me, and that's what I push, and that's what we try to increase engagement with is you as an individual.
So your sales rep who's making the call, they're going to handle their own account. It's not going to be given to someone else to do.
Yeah, so I am 100% training account managers. We train them how to book for, so they understand as far as, but like the operations but yeah, they're managing the accounts. We do have a business development team, and they're on a different learning path, so to speak. Where I'm at, where my majority of my roles are the account manager side, how we're going to sell and how we're going to manage those accounts through the lifetime of that relationship.
You got a very, very hard question for you to answer.
Yeah.
How do you help your sales team to define what their individual value is? How do you help them define that?
So that is a great question. It based off of how we process as far as Armstrong, what our processes are, and what our values are, and what our mission is. Customer service focused, transparency focused, technology focused, utilizing our processes and our customer experience level. How can you individually enhance that and create that as a backing? So, and learning personalities and how they can find their niche. We've heard it on multiple things, right?
Yeah.
Riches are in the niches, and figuring out what their niche is in order for them to attack it, so that way they can continue to proceed in that specific customer experience, because they know what they know, and that's where they can focus on until they can grow their book of business.
And everyone's completely different, right? And I want to ask you a story more. I want to ask you a question based on more of like you being kind of like the director of training. What was a time, or is there a story that you can share where one of your account managers, like they hit a goal? Like maybe it was something that they were able to buy, maybe their first car, or they were able to do their first wedding. What's the story that sticks to you because of the training and something that they've accomplished?
So I want to say our top sales rep right now is a huge testament on what you can do in this industry. She came up to us as a single mom, living with her mom, and just like wanting something new, wanted to get away, and going through the training and understanding process, building up those relationships. She is now one of the top sales. She's got massive accounts. A lot of them came from our business development, but it's about the relationships she's built and then the referrals that she's gotten from that just expanded her book of business. She is now got her own house. She has a paid off car. She'd come to me and it's like, hey, what should I do about this? I was like, Haley, you are killing it. So you can do whatever you want now. You can do whatever you want because of you've created yourself so much financial freedom. Now let's start doing this smart, right? I'm a Dave Ramsey guy. So I was like, let's start thinking about your financial plan. Okay. I'm a big fan of not just developing sales reps. I'm a big fan of developing leaders and developing individuals. Like I want you to succeed in life. On day 3, one of the things I do is I give them a goals training, you know, using the SMART goals. And so I get to know what their goal is for this career, but I also get to understand some of their personal goals, and knowing that and be able to see that is going to help us align with, help me align their personal goal, how I can help them with their career goals in order to help them hit that personal goal. Right. So if we can do that, if everybody can do that, that's just going to create individual success, because now not only their goals are not only their career goals are being made, but their personal goals are being made. And so my girl Kaylee out there just killing it. Is she just had her boy was, I don't know, 6 months old. Now he's this little bundle of fire running around, and he came in during, I think, Halloween. And it's just cool seeing, because you don't really see him unless, you know, there's the family event and you see him, but we don't see him every day. We just see pictures. Like, I got pictures of my kids, and but until they come in and they're like, oh man, that's crazy, the growth. But it's that's probably one of my biggest ones, is just that is her being able to get her own house, not living with mom, you know, her own vehicle, 100% independent woman, just out there making things happen. So, and I just, it's a joy, because I know I was a little bit of that, you know, in the beginning of her career. I was like, I fed her a little knowledge here, little bits of knowledge here, and it's how you're going to run with it. Whatever, you know, I can teach anybody to be a freight broker, but I can't teach hustle. I can't teach punctuality. Right. I can't teach, you know, the basics of.
Got to be here.
Yeah, it's got to be the drive. My training specialist Casey always says there's a will and a skill, and I can teach you the skill. You got to have the will.
You have the will.
You gotta have it. Yeah, you gotta have it.
Tell you a question. You know, every company out there has goals and objectives as far as revenue goals, whether it's monthly, quarterly, annually. They also have margin goals, profit goals, the same thing, right? How do you measure the success of each one of your salesmen or women? How do you know that they're hitting their goals? And backed up, the second question is how long does it take for you to onboard a client or your salesman or women?
I guess it depends on where you're at on onboarding. How soon we want them. We like to have them be commission positive, you know, within those first 6 months, because when you got a commission positive rep, they're making money, they're rolling, and that just it tells me that, okay, we're doing the right things, they're doing the right things, and we can release them to the, you know, to the world. They get assigned to a sales team. It's usually about 12 weeks. 12 weeks is typically the longest. We'll have someone on the training team before they get assigned to a sales team, or a sales pod. However, every company is different, right? But
yes,
a sales pod, and then it's up to that pod director, that pod leader to, you know, I give them a firm foundation. It's up to them to build the walls. And then again, we never have a ceiling, so it's how hard you want to work. As far as the first question, what do we look at in regards to it? We have a specific set of weekly production. Like we want to see them have. There's a specific number of clients we want them to bring on by the time they hit their 10 to 12 week. We look at a 6 week average, see where their 6 week average is as far as revenue and profit margin, and based off of those specific parameters that we've set. I'm not going to give you all my tricks and trades. Come on, Jeff.
Yeah,
but, no. I'm just, you know, one of the biggest things, like for me, is clients for life. And how do you define a client for life, and how long does it take you to get that client for life, right? So number of calls, hours spent, And so how long does it take to get a client on board, and how many hours did it take? Now that's your KPI, right? And now you want to narrow that down, and that comes with, training, developing your sales team, and being able to shrink those number of hours spent. So you can have 1,000 calls at 5 minutes a pop at 5,000 minutes, right? To get maybe 1 or 2 clients on board. So now you've got your KPI as far as how many hours did it take me to get that client, right? So that all comes down to clients for life, right? How much time does it take to get that client on, and how much will it take to replace that client if that client decides to go someplace else? So now you're getting those key performance indicators. So I'm just curious about that as far as monitoring and seeing the success of each and every one on your team in order to decrease that time, because now you're decreasing it and now revenue is going up as far as, and so is your margins. That's all.
So I have, I do a weekly report card, and it tracks those KPIs in regards to, their minimum outbound dials. Our CRM tracks the difference between emails, intro calls and follow-up calls. And so I'm able to go in and see how many intro calls are logged versus follow-ups and emails and all that. And then we discuss it every week. We like to put them against each other. And I throw out little spiffs on, hey, who's got the most outbounds, who got the most intro calls, everybody round of applause, and who's lacking. And we all kind of do the locker room. Come on, man, you can do that.
Right.
Yes. You got
them up.
In a more colorful way, obviously.
Then you got competition between the two, right?
Yeah,
I'll make more phone calls than you. I'll have more clients on board before you do, and then they just feed off each other.
Well, that's the one thing I've always loved that. Like at my first place, we got our numbers daily, and we got everybody in the office, so we would know, and we compare it, oh, you did $1,000 GP extra, we'd like that internal conversation. And one thing that I like that I feel like everybody could attest to, Scott, is at the beginning, 0 to 10,000 GP is really, really effing hard. But when you're at 10 grand, to go to 20 is easy. I don't care what anybody says. Going up those ladders, it's getting to there. And as we're coming up to the end of the show, we kind of want to introduce something kind of brand new where we get to know the guests a little bit more. So enough of the training, enough of the Armstrong Transport Group. I'm going to ask you 3 questions, and let's have some fun with it. So
now Scott can go.
Yeah, exactly. You don't worry.
I'm on with Trey. I mean, I'm on with Trey and this guy every Friday. So
so there we go. So honestly, from there. So Scott, Freight Sensei, what is one thing that people are genuinely surprised to learn about you?
Surprised. I can play a mean harmonica.
Woo! You got it with you? We'll get you and John
at home. And my COVID instrument was the ukulele, and
nice.
Yeah, really? when we were at the working from home, when I see
I just can't see. Sorry, Scott, I can't see you playing the ukulele.
I'll bring it. I'll bring it. Maybe I'll bust it out on Friday, Jeff. I'm half Japanese, and so it was more of the whole, hey, let me give an instrument, but it's a little guy. It really is. But during COVID, I started learning some 4 or 5 major keys, and so when I can just see them on the screen, the Zoom screen, they're just not doing anything, and I'll just bust it out, just and they're like,
what the hell?
Yeah, it was going on.
Or I'll bust out the harmonica with some 12-bar blues,
You got the John Cena going on, I gotta pull that out. But next one question for you: if you were to live on a desert island, what's the one thing you're bringing with you? And cell phones are not included. You don't have service.
Yeah, you don't have cell phones.
Does it have to be an inanimate object, or can I bring my wife?
Anything you want.
Anything, yeah, you can bring. All right, bring your wife. Leave the kids back home. A last one for you, Scott. Dead or alive? Who are 3 people that you'd want to have dinner with?
Dead or alive? 3 people I would want to have dinner with. Oof, that's a good one. I don't know. I'd like to have dinner with my grandma one more time. Didn't mean to get that deep on you guys. Sorry.
No.
There's
I hear you, brother.
Then I don't know. I guess The Rock, because he's the man. You know what I'm saying?
People's champ.
The people's champ. Because if you smell, like I got
I've got cookies.
Just imagine him flirting with your grandma, eh? Like, you know, he's got the chops and the charisma to be flirting with
yeah,
grandma.
for sure.
Yeah.
What's up, Grandma Molly? You still
All right.
like the strudel? You know.
Yeah, OG restaurant. One more person, buddy.
One more person. Oh, I don't know, man. I'd have to, probably Alexander Hamilton.
Nice.
Wow, why him?
I fell in love. Me and my daughter fell in love with the musical when it came out. I took her. They came through live here in Boise, and just me doing my own research just because I wanted to see how much of the musical was, based off fact and stuff. And like there's a lot of stuff in this country that was developed and where we're at because of some of the policies that he wrote. And just, it's amazing what the entire gang squad of founding fathers did for this country, and the freedoms we have and the freedoms we continue to have and the freedoms that could possibly lose. We just we can never forget where we came from as a country.
Sure.
And I think just being able to sit with that man was good. So
That's awesome.
would be fun.
That'd be awesome.
Nice.
As we're wrapping up here, what is something that Jeff and I should have asked you, but we didn't?
How long have you been in the industry? Where'd you come from? Where?
No, maybe we'll have the part 2, right? And
Yeah,
Scott,
part
where
2,
can
bring
people
it
go
on.
find out- Where
Well,
can
we
people
know.
go find more about you and more?
Wait a second. We did hear that Scott came into the business in 2014, correct?
It's true. That is
Okay.
true.
Okay, and let me just follow that up. Who do you owe your career to? What person do you owe your career to?
Logistics career.
Yep.
Just his I was deployed with him. His name's Rob. We were deployed in 0607, and in 2013 when we were getting sequestered, he's like, dude, I got a buddy who's starting this little freight agency, and I think you would kill it. I think you need to talk to him. And so I came to work on the government dime, right, on a Friday, and they said, you got 4 hours, send some emails, and we'll call you when we come back. And so I said, hey, buddy, tell me where this office is, and let me check out what's going on. At that time, it was this little front office of a warehouse with these guys on a phone, very Wolf of Wall Street-ish. And I'm like, what is going on here? What are they doing? And so, but it's grown, I think by the time I made a decision to come on, we were 10, 15 people in this little warehouse, grew a little bit as an agent office of Armstrong. And then in 2019 is when our office got merged or acquired by the Armstrong corporate in order to help the overall operations improve across the Armstrong network, create more training processes. And now we're, I don't know, 180 Armstrong company stores strong, and 60 plus agencies across the U.S. Armstrong. So 16, 17 years in, and we're not stopping. We're trying to be a top 10, and we're going to keep doing what we can to do it. So
seems like you're doing things right. They got the right director of training in place for sure.
Yes.
Seems like you.
You're the guy. So Scott,
right.
thank you.
Got
Thank you so
all
much
the
for coming out
tools,
this morning,
man.
Scott. Where can people go find out more about you and your work?
Yeah, just LinkedIn is I try to engage a lot in there, so you can hook me up on LinkedIn. I'm trying to do the TikTok thing, but it's not. But I do have the Freight Sensei Instagram. I throw a lot of Freight Tip Fridays and just some development and leadership and stuff on that. But just Scott at armstrongtransport.com. Still looking for, if you're in Chicago, North Carolina, or Boise, we're still always looking for company store agents. And if you want to get an agency of your own, I'll get you a hold of our agent recruiters, and come grow with one of the best that are coming up. So appreciate you guys letting us come in and do our thing. So.
Hey, thank you, Scott, so much for taking the time out of your busy day. I know you're definitely busy. We appreciate you coming on board. We hope we can do this again with you real soon. We'll definitely be in contact. Thank you, my friend. Had a great time.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Awesome. Thanks for everybody watching. DJ, Lisa, my girl. You guys have a good one. Ryan, Jeff, always a pleasure.
Thank you, my friend.
Thank you. So everybody, if you like that, thank you so much for coming out this morning. If you like this, please share this with somebody that you think can have some value with it. We will be hitting the replay back at 12 and 3 p.m. Eastern time, LinkedIn, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Tomorrow, we've got Data Day with the mad scientist himself, Dean Croak. It's going to be a blessing. And, we're starting up something different. Let us know, how'd you like today's episode? This week's topic, we're actually going to be diving into training for every single episode for the whole week. So we're going to have it up, switch it up a little bit. We'll see you guys out tomorrow. Take care. Have an amazing day. Jeff, Scott, let's get out of here.
Thank you.